Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here with the System Simplified podcast, where we interview top entrepreneurs, founders, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And this podcast is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group. At Business Success Consulting Group, we create custom processes and tailor-made business systems so businesses can thrive and grow. All right, so today's guest is Chris Martin from Pro Painting. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Adi. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm really good today. It's
awesome.
Raining outside here in Oregon, but I'm not painting, so that's a good day for me.
Absolutely. So that actually leads right into your introduction. So Chris is the owner of Mount Hood Pro Painting. And we've been working together for now, I think, over 3 years, implementing different systems in the business. And I'm really excited to have you as a guest here because, I've seen the changes throughout those 3 years from where we started to where you are now. Like when we started, it was basically you took over a business and you were painting all day. And I think maybe you had a helper, but now you are up into a company that has employees, great reputation, great designers that you work with, great that refer you business, great customers. You are actually also starting a new business, and you just totally converted this business into a profitable business that is successful and expanding despite anything, despite even the pandemic. You did great in that time. So I thought it would be really inspiring for our listeners to listen to your success and learn about some systems that we implemented.
I'm happy to be here. Anything I can do to help inspire
Absolutely.
people.
And, and I know it's not just you alone running.
No, it's not.
It's not. It was Alexandra Martin, your beautiful wife.
That's my wife. No, that's my partner in crime. My wife.
Absolutely. And you two work really well together.
We're opposites, but we work well together. Absolutely. We would not be here if it wasn't for her. She's actually the one that actually told me to go into business.
Yeah, because she comes from a long lineage. Her family are painters, artists, and so she's definitely the person there encouraging you to do more, to take it to the next level. Mm-hmm. So how do you see the roles that you both have in the business?
Well, I might be doing probably maybe 90% of everything in the company. But the more that she's gotten involved, I think she's just made it from a non-legitimate, maybe not feeling so organized or not very brand savvy. Like she's just cleaned it up a little bit. She does handle the social media and branding. So she's just added a lot of, aside, she's also made it sound serious. So she does a little bit of the HR. That's not necessarily something that maybe she enjoys doing, but she's not bad at. And so, she does a good job with connecting with my employees. She will call them once a quarter and just checks in. How are they doing? And, the guys actually appreciate that. And that's a way for them to, communicate some stuff they've been feeling or stuff that they would like to talk about. But, she just adds that personal touch that I wasn't able to do because of me and I'm different. And
sure.
I can go on, but we work really well together.
So you gave me the example of the Walt and Roy Disney.
Yeah. So we joke around a lot where she's Walt Disney and I'm Roy Disney. So I'm Walt's brother. Walt would not be Walt if it wasn't for his brother Roy. Walt was the dreamer. He was always going for it. And Roy was the one that was like trying to make it happen or telling him, no, we can't pay for that. Or, figuring out the logistics. I'm a little bit more gifted with those things, the analytics, I'm not saying that right, the analytical side of the business. But we switch roles. So on one hand, I might steer, we're very entrepreneurial by nature. And so that's one thing that we do share quite a bit on, is just big vision. We're always in the future. We're thinking, well, what do we do in 5 years? How could we turn this company into something that we could sell or franchise? And so that way we could go do other ones and go back to Europe, because that's where my wife's from. So we have all these high fun dreams. We do probably need some help to help people help us to figure out how to make it happen to get there. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So let's get back. Let's get down to those systems that we implemented. And because I want our listeners to, the takeaway that I would love for them to take from this podcast is, what type of systems did we implement, and what type of systems a contractor needs to have in place in order to grow and scale the business. So the first thing that we did is we actually got somebody to handle your incoming phone calls. Remember before, you had all the calls come to your cell phone, and while you were driving, while you were giving estimates, there were phone calls all the time, so that, you might be losing leads, or you were all the time stressed about answering the phone because, that might be an important lead, or it might be a customer that needs your help, etc. Now, at that point, you weren't big enough to actually hire a front desk, like a permanent front desk that will be there 40 hours. So what we did is we basically contacted Ruby Receptionist, and you hired a virtual receptionist. So tell me, how did hiring a virtual receptionist actually made it easier for you to manage your communication?
Well, it took out the stress. That was a big one. And it just allowed me to breathe and not feel pressure to answer a call right away. Because my phone doesn't ring all the time. They just take the call and they screen it out. If it's a solicitation, they just block the number. Or if it's a lead, they'll take that for me, take the information, and then they send it to my email. And I look at it later, and I call when I can.
Right. So it's really what we did. Also, we figured out the flow, the process of taking a new lead. So what are the questions that can be taken by the receptionist? What is your lead? Basically, we figured out the lead intake process. So then we can actually hire somebody external to fill out those leads and then give it to you. So you have all the information right there, and then you can act and call. So
that's a big one. I would probably start with there. Like when it comes to your sales, like having some sort of organized system where you're tracking your leads, or having someone answer the phone, because that's the oxygen of your business. If you don't have flows of lead coming in, you don't have a business. You could be the most organized company, but if you don't have sales coming in, then that's a big problem. So that would be a big one, I would say.
Absolutely. And then the second thing, as you mentioned, is organization of your leads, right? So before, it was you driving around doing estimates. A call comes in, there was a napkin in the car, and writing it on the napkin on a piece of paper. Well, maybe I'm exaggerating. I know you used to have notebooks and write it there, but then
I still do, but I still use that system independent. But it's just nice to have a few things that are just right there. It's documented. I can access it. Cloud-based, doesn't matter what computer I'm accessing it from. So it's very nice. It's not in some random paper somewhere. I know where it's at. I know where to look. I can call someone within seconds. Very nice.
Correct. And that also helped you in your sales pipeline in terms of the sales process itself, because we identified the workflow of sales, right, from beginning to end. And so it comes as a lead. You intake the lead. We're using a virtual receptionist to do that, but we have all the information. Then it moves from there to doing an estimate, from there to send an estimate, to follow up on an estimate. And then when it closes, then scheduling the job and doing the job, collecting on the job, following up with the customer afterwards, sending a thank you note, or collecting a testimonial. So that entire flow, we actually were able to systematize it by putting it in the beginning. We used just a simple spreadsheet in order to do that, color coded, etc., which was definitely an improvement over just writing it on pieces of paper.
Absolutely. And it gave a clear picture of where things are at. Also, whether it was, I need to call these people, or, as things move along, let's say we didn't get the job. Well, what's nice is being able to get it off the list. You got to be on top of it. Then you can actually see, I don't have as much work as I thought. Because when you're out and about, it sounds overwhelming. Like I'm busy. But if you stop and look at everything, you can have a clearer picture. And then actually, I found that to be more motivating, or it prompted me to more action whenever I would see a clear picture of like, I don't have as much as I thought. So it would actually make me do more activity, and that's made me way more organized. And I would say it's actually made our way more profitable, brought way more revenue just by having that. So definitely a huge game changer, I would say.
Absolutely. And now we took it to the next. We are process of taking it to the next level by actually using a better CRM and an app that you can use to monitor the work in the field, etc. But having that basic of going from nothing to at least having some system and some order there allows you to then improve that particular system. But it's a matter of identifying the flow so you can then any system will build on it.
Absolutely.
Right. So we talked about the receptionist, the system to track leads, the system to track the jobs, scheduling. So we have that system in place. Now, the other thing is to create the system to train new employees, right? Because, finding new employees was always it's always a challenge in terms of you have good employees, but then something happens, life events, they get married, they have kids, they want to move out of state, they go to school. Whatever it is, there is some kind of a turnover. And we learned very fast that we have to have a system to hire. So we work on that one as well.
Yes.
We created a hiring system and used even some kind of a personality test and skills assessment, etc., to hire. And then we also created a training system, which basically was documenting your processes and procedures on an online platform. So in this case, we used Suite Process.
Yeah.
And, you did a fantastic job working with me on the documentation. So both you and Alex work on those documentations, with pictures, like how to set the job site, what to do at the beginning of the day, etc. So, it's not an easy, it takes time to do that, right? You made a commitment to do that, and you found a time to do that. So what advice would you give to other contractors that are listening to us right now? And they're thinking, boy, I need to have that system. I need to have processes and procedures that are well documented so I can train my employees, existing employees and new employees. But how am I going to find the time to do that? So what advice would you give them? Why do it, and how to find a time?
Well, what I would probably ask them is, are you enjoying how things are going right now? How many times are you going to have to deal with the callbacks from customers having to do recorrect work, or having to fix your guys' work, or having to go back? It's just a lot of wasted time. So you kind of have to look at it from how much time you're wasting by not having a system. So, so it does take a discipline. So I don't know if that means getting up a little bit earlier. You might have to do it on the weekends. You might need to get your spouse on board if you're married, or a partner, whatever, to just take the time to do it. You might need to hire someone. So like me, hiring you and continuing to work with you, it's just allowed me to work on all these things that have come up. So we didn't originally start with this. Eventually we did. And so some people can do it on their own. Some people need the accountability. They need to be accountable to someone. I don't know what it is. For me, that was very helpful, especially when you're busy.
Well, we made it happen, because otherwise there will be other things that will pull you to do other things.
Like, okay, when's this happening? Today. I didn't always do it consistently, but it actually it makes you think. It makes you think. We're actually not as busy. busy as we feel, I feel like you just got to plan for it. I've just learned over and over, if you don't put it in the calendar, it just won't happen.
Correct.
Like trips, I've learned this too. My wife's bugged me about this too. Like when we going, sometimes she will book it. And then I get stressed out, like anticipating going out of town, sometimes anyway, I'm getting off subject, but my point is you just got to do it. You got to put it in there, you figure it out, plan your schedule around it. Just do it. Just put it on there, make a commitment. Just start with one thing at a time. You can't cram it all in 1 week. I'm going to work on this list this week or this day. I don't know what it is. Space it out. Just check it off. You build it over time.
You do.
There's no sugarcoating it. There's no magic poof pill or magic wand you could wave and then magically appears. I mean, money makes it happen. Time makes it happen. It does take some time.
For sure. But now we have systems so we created systems on how to onboard a new employee. We created a training on what the basics of painting. So even if they don't have experience in the industry, they can actually learn how to paint. We created systems on how to start a job, how to end a job. So it's very specific. So the guys know exactly what to follow and how things are being done. We created job descriptions for each one of the positions, right? So, it's like before you had it, it's not like you didn't know what each person needs to do, but it was all in your head, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's just a lot more clarity when you get it out of your head and you have it written down somewhere, or sometimes you communicate it verbally, sometimes it's non-verbally. So like right now I have some guys that know how to paint. And so when we bring new guys, they're running the system because they just know what to do. And so there's this process of way of doing things all the time. So it does impact the culture of like when I send my guys out, how are they going to do the job? And
for sure.
So big breather. Having a good team. It took me some time, but finding right people, but you do need a good system to have in order to run that well.
Absolutely. And I think what also helped is identifying the different job descriptions. So what is a helper? When they start off, what do they do? Then what is the painter level 1? What is painter level 2? What is the lead painter? What is a foreman? So when you have that well-defined, then you also have the expectations well-defined and the competency. So it's basically expectations about competency. And you basically are able to then evaluate and review the work against those competencies and what you're expecting.
Exactly.
Yeah. And one thing that we did, and I think Alex was very big on it, is really identifying also the soft skills, right? It's not just picking up a brush and painting, but what are the soft skills that are needed for that particular position and in order to move up in the company, right?
Right.
So that's what differentiates you from other companies, right? That's the being courteous and friendly and respectful, etc. Like having good communication. So we define those as well, so we know what we are looking for, and if we have somebody that is not up to that, what do they need to do in order to progress and come and get to that level?
I think that's a key one to have in your company, the soft skills, because that's actually what will make the people in your company want to work in your company. They have a nice place to go to. They feel cared for. I have a bunch of my guys aren't used to that. So they've worked for a lot of other companies, and they've always, the feedback I've gotten, it's nice to hear. I'm not used to hearing that, but they would say, I really appreciate some things that you guys do. It makes me feel cared for, which is really nice to hear. And so I think that actually affects also their work ethic. I mean, they're going to do good work anyway, but it just adds, I don't know what it is, but it does go a long way. And then our customers they'll feel cared for. Now I'm in a spot where my customers text me personal text messages or they leave really nice reviews, just talking about the guys. They were very friendly. We really enjoyed them. We trusted them coming in our home. So it just makes the experience so much better.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I used to stress about, I had nice guys, but can they do it without me? And so I would send guys in the past, and then I would get, problem text messages or calls like, the guys forgot to cover something. And that's where the systems come in place.
Right.
So a lot of the creative problems, because we're not organized and we're really doing our best as entrepreneurs when we're first starting out. And that's okay. You just figure it out as you go. You do the best you can. But when you actually start to get those systems created and you actually start to implement them, you'll start to see the results. It might take some time, but sometimes it's immediate. And so, yeah.
That's so true. So true. And now, of course, you're implementing it in your current business, but you are going to start a new business from scratch. Yeah. So how having well-documented processes and procedures and the systems in place make you feel as compared to when you first started this business when you didn't have any systems? So what's the difference?
I feel just way more comfortable, or I feel more confident. I think starting a new company sounds very exciting because it's like, nice, we can start all over again.
You immediately, you have a projection like that within a year, you're going to accomplish what you accomplished in the last 4 years building this one, because, or even less than a year, like 6 months, you're going to get to that goal because you know what to do, right?
Yeah. And also too, we'll reach our goals a lot faster too. And, so I'm very excited. It's giving me hope just knowing you can do it. And I'm a person that can be very simple-minded and get overwhelmed with the next steps. Just the idea of like becoming a big company can sound so overwhelming, but it can be done. And I'm starting to believe it more and more as I do it. And so I'm excited for the next chapter for us and the company we have right now in Oregon and the new one we're going to be starting.
That's fantastic. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you another question before we end the podcast. It wasn't always very easy, right? I mean, there were times where you were, you didn't know if you will make it or not, right? But you kept pushing forward. You kept going. You kept the eye on the mountain. What helps you do that? How do you do that?
What helps me is, I built over time like a good morning routine where I know it's important to just take that personal time just to really think through what you need to have before you go into the goals. How I say it, that's a time where you got to be motivated. I don't know where you have to get it from. For me, it's, a combination of listening to audiobooks, listening to motivation, watching a motivational video, or reading my Bible. You got to have some encouragement. You got to have positive thinking. And also, I've just, the power of the mind. You got to feed your mind, and what you feed it really will impact your decision making, I would say. And so you got to really think through, like, what are you watching? So maybe instead of tuning out and self-medicating through binge watching on Netflix or something, maybe you should read something that's going to really help you with what you're dealing with. And so you're just making a commitment to read and watch things, write your goals down. That has to be daily. I don't know how else to say
Absolutely.
it. And, some people can do it on their own. I mean, there's a part of it where I do conjure it by myself, but it's helpful to have supplemental material that I can run to, talking with someone like you, reading a book, go to a conference. I don't know what it is, but there's just so many things out there where you can get motivated really quickly and it can be done. And it's really helped me just to make decisions so I can get out of those situations where I'm like, I don't know if I can make it.
That's beautiful, Chris. And I've seen it.
I can either just sit there and just let it take over, or I do something about it. I mean, you only have two options. You cave in or you do something about it. Yeah, I got out of it when I did something. I didn't do it perfectly, but whenever I did it, it always worked.
Absolutely. And I've seen you do that over and over, and really apply that. And that's the strength of being motivated, of being driven. You're definitely very driven and goal oriented. And then you put the systems in place in order for actually to make it happen. And the combination of those two is the key to your success from what I can see.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
I agree. Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast and sharing your experience.
Anytime. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Adi.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Systems Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.